Hey guys, today on Rad Season, I'm going to be talking to the man, the myth, the legend, the Iceman himself, Wim Hof. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you again so much for coming on. Where have you been? What have you been up to?
Yes, I'm this afternoon I was talking to the BBC to get a lot of episodes going. And yesterday I was talking with Hollywood Jeff Pope, screenwriter, because they're going to make a Hollywood film out of my life. And it's all on. And next month I get the DNA results of my new upcoming big research of this method on the DNA. Appears to be that we have a much more possible control over our DNA. But, you know, first you have to show it in science, and that's what I'm all about. Besides of that, I'm training a lot. I love my stone exercises. I got stones of 29 kilos, 33 and 61, and I pull them up like this. I pull them up, it's outside. And then diving from my rocks 4 meters down in a cold plunge pool. Amazing.
Wim, I'd love to, I guess, get a bit of background, if that's okay with you. If we could take it back a bit. So whereabouts did you grow up?
I was born in 1 kilometer from Germany, 12 kilometers from Belgium. So different languages going on. And when it's about 62, I am now. When I was little, you had only the Dutch TV and the German TV. So because we were so close to Germany, that's the way I taught myself German and Dutch. And then English we got in our school. And that's most people in the Netherlands speak English, besides of Dutch, and me German. But because we also were close to Belgium, I also taught myself French. So I grew up learning those languages. And it's a kind of, when you live so close to the border, you get a different culture, a different feeling of both the other countries as well. That influences you. You become more international, you know, more different, more, not as much Dutch as if you would live inside the country. No, if you live near the border, you're half German, half Belgium, or one part Belgium, one part German, and one part Dutch. And because I lived past past the Dutch frontier, the border, that's why I got the Dutch passport. But I actually got many languages and many nationalities.
And when did all the sports start? I mean, were you pretty active, like?
Yes, I
right
began
from an early
because
age?
we were like 6 boys and 2 girls. We had very little money, but a lot of sports, a lot of football, a lot of basketball, playing outside, chess inside, playing cards, playing checkers, playing all kinds of games. It was always game time, game on. That was my youth. And when I became 17, I found a crispy new layer of virgin white snow. It's what I felt the attraction to go barefoot into the snow. And I did that. And I did it for not 10 minutes, you know, an hour and more. And I loved it. I loved it so much until I came back inside and my feet hurt so much because of going from the cold, which was perfectly nice, but going then in the house, first time experience, it was really painful. But that experience brought me in connection with the cold. And I saw the cold as something in the snow, as something beautiful. Some deep experience was driven there from. And it didn't leave me. You know, at a Sunday morning when I lived in Amsterdam. That was a year later. I lived in Amsterdam in a squatting place. I felt going into the cold water in the wintertime in the Sunday morning, and there I found myself with a thin layer of ice around me, naked in the water, because I hadn't premeditated to go in. It was just a hunch, go in, and I felt the cold water, and that brought me fully aware in this is it. This is what I want. This is what I need, without words. So that gave me a great feeling, a great rush. So the other day I came back and I tried to repeat it, and it happened again. And since then, that is 45 years ago, I never skipped a day in going into cold water every winter. And the winters are like England, you know, cold outside, miserable. It's freezing, or raining cold, or it is snowing and it's freezing and cloudy. But if you go into the cold, it's like an antidote. It's like a vaccine. You don't get these winter depressions. You feel just bloody great when you go into the cold. And you know, and now it seems, I'm doing the studies with the universities, but it seems that going into the cold makes the deficit caused by depression of noradrenaline and dopamine. Noradrenaline is in deficit when you have depression. It goes up 530%. And dopamine, which is in deficit when people have depression, it goes up 2,500%. That is the cure for depression anywhere. It should be prescribed by any doctor, any psychiatrist or psychologist, if they just think, you know, out of calculations, not going into nature. Nature has the answer, but we go and accommodate ourselves so much into comfort that we weaken our systems inside. When we go into nature, then we remember and realign with the stress mechanisms inside the body to cope with the cold, not only to cope with stress in general. We lost that capability, and I found it. And now I'm doing studies with the best of top researchers on the DNA and on the depression with the San Francisco University. I'm doing studies on bipolar mental disorders in Detroit, but the whole world should know this. I'm going to do a big series with BBC One, 6 series, and then 6 series in America, 6 series in Asia, in Australia, Japan, and the continent of Europe, to spread this message that we have an innate capacity to reactivate our control over balancing out what is out of balance. That is the dopamine and noradrenaline in case of, say, depression. But it also works on inflammation, which is actually, if you take it seriously, last year, 1.5 million people died of COVID. But 60 to 70 million people die every year of inflammation-related diseases. And we showed in the university how to bring it down within 15 minutes. Do you say it's science? It's no speculation about it. This is factual. We published it in papers, in the best papers of the world, scientific papers. So that's where I came from near Germany and Belgium. And I grew up in a family with 6 brothers, 2 sisters, a lot of games, a lot of sports. Then I came in contact with the cold because it attracted me to go deeper inside, and I just got into it, and it never has loosened its grip on me. because psychically, physically, mentally, emotionally, I'm the best of the world. And that is what everybody should be able to feel, the best of himself. Because I'm not better than nobody, but I'm the best of myself. That makes me the best of the world. And I want to show this to the whole world. And then I come across people like you and the platform and all. And that I think that's my work, to spread the message that we are able to regulate our mood naturally in any situation and to beat inflammation, which is the cause and effect of actually almost any disease. We got so much more control coming to us.
Like when you were doing all this soul searching, was there, were you just sort of listening to your heart and thinking, and you didn't have any specific destination, or were you kind of just, you were listening to yourself and thinking, okay, this is where this is where I'm going to go, this is where I'm going to push it?
The thing is, you don't know. Soul searching, you don't know, but you go. You are driven through a force, a belief inside, which is stronger than what you think is normal or what you should do. And that is the difference. And that difference manifests itself past what you understand. And then you find things new. You know from the inside something is wrong. There is more than meets the eye. You know it, but you don't know what it is. So that makes you having a drive, absolutely. That makes you go on the soul search. Then the soul, and it doesn't need necessarily to mean that you go travel and all. It can be done in your apartment, and that's what I did actually. When I lost my wife in '95 through a suicide, I had 4 children, and I had little money, and I had only an apartment, and then the soul search was really on. Because I was heartbroken. I had little money. I had 4 children. The love of my life was gone. And so I was desperate inside. But I could not succumb to it. I had to find a way to get a hold of myself, to create warmth, a warm nest for my kids without the money. And I did it. You know how? Going into the cold really cuts through all the chatterbox, all the emotions. You just survive. And at that moment, every time I went into the cold, it silences this emotional agony of being heartbroken and having worries about the future. What is, the whole dream was scattered. But if you go into the cold, you get a moment of stillness. And that healed me. That made me able to just be. And that was a relief, a natural relief. So you could find me in those days, every day, several times in the cold water, doing my breathing exercises at home at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, like a more precise, more disciplined than a military. I was not drinking, not smoking, no need. I was high on my own supply all the time. And that is the soul, because we got the soul. And because of the circumstances, they drove me to go really deep, to be able to take care of my 4 kids alone, heartbroken, and come out of there with a warm nest, being happy or being spontaneous and becoming a great guy. Because that is what happens if you go into the depth of yourself. There is a great guy for everybody waiting within him or herself. And that is what we lost. And so I had no money to travel. I had no money to do fancy things. I had only the cold bath, my exercising, and my breathing. And that was based upon my belief. And that belief that took hold of what I was doing, of the exercising, going into the depth of the physiology. That is already a mentality. But then I showed in brain scans that just by thinking, I am able to fend off physical stress. I showed this in brain scans, and this is new. It's a completely new science, and it is published in neuroimage papers for psychiatry and all. I showed to be able to activate the deepest part of the brain, which is able to regulate whatever is going on inside the brain related to pain and to mental disorders. So that is a big crisis in the world on opioids and depression. And I found the keys. And this is what they say, the professors, in the scientific paper. They say, we found the compelling evidence of the key components of the autonomous processes in the brain related to mood regulation. So that is the missing link in our society. We can buy Jaguars, and we can buy Maseratis, and we can go on holidays, but we cannot guarantee our happiness, and we cannot relieve ourselves from pain just by our thought. But that's the way we are built, that our belief is quite capable to regulate our neurology, which is connected to all the systems inside, being able in very stressful situations to regulate the mood and the physiology. And then, you get self-confidence. You become powerful, and unconditionally you become there where Shakespeare talked about, to be or not to be. And now it is to be again. To be happy, strong, and healthy. And if you're disconnected, if you're not there the way Mother Nature built you to be, then when problems happen, you cannot rebalance. You cannot get back to happiness, to strength, and to health. I came out of a big, dark pit, but I came with the light. And now I'm bringing the light to those who need it. And they can come. And now by the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, they are curing. And this is not only because, they believe in the sectarian guru Wim Hof, the Iceman. Fuck you. I am not a guru or anything. I'm just showing through science and through the misery of life that I'm here to share the love and the innate capacity to guarantee together and to do the work together as we are doing right now, to bring it to people that we have a absolute power to guarantee happiness, strength, and health. That is the hormonal system, the immune system, and the metabolic systems within the cell, to create all the energy, to create control over inflammation, and to create control over hormonal secretions. That means no dopamine loss or noradrenaline loss, no depression, no inflammation, no lack of energy. And it's all scientifically based. That is love. My thing is about love. Like the Beatles, all you need is love. La, la. Everybody loves it. But then the shit happens and we don't know where's the love anymore. Now it's not only a song anymore. Now this is gonna be truth. This is equal for left-wing people, right-wing people. I say left and right wing makes the bird. Otherwise it cannot fly. Everybody.
And when did the scientists, they were people were looking at what you were doing and this is impossible.
Exactly. It began in 2011. In 2011, it began, I was standing for 80 minutes in direct contact with eyes. They had me fully wired with about 20 monitors, 20 computers, doctors, paramedics, etc. And then they saw me not losing core body temperature during 80 minutes. That was one. That was a thing that was not possible according to physiological science and understanding. That was one, but they also took my blood. They took my blood, like 36 of these tubes. One arm was out, and they took the blood. And then that blood, they exposed a bacteria to that blood, and which normally makes a very violent reaction with the immune cells in the serum. Yes? In my case, zero. They had never seen that. And that is because if I go into the ice, I go to the deepest of the physiology, in control. And I say, anybody can do this. But back then, they said, but you are the Iceman. You are an anomaly. You are a freak of nature. You are extraordinary. You are a superhuman. I say, dim, get it down, guys. What I can do, anybody can do. And then they said, okay, finally, give me a group of people. I took on the group of people. We did a comparative study. So I trained the people in 4 days to go also to the deepest of their physiological abilities in 4 days in nature by climbing a mountain in shorts. But first I taught them how to breathe, how to be, just in 4 days. I can do it in 1 day now with people. So then 4 days later, they were in the hospital. They all got the injection of the bacteria, which normally causes headaches, big fever, overall agony, nausea, vomiting, backaches, muscle aches everywhere. That is E. coli bacteria. That's a real one. It's a real painful one. But my people, 12 of them, 100% score, all had no symptoms. Down. They took it down within 15 minutes. And that is after 16,000 people who could not do that. Suddenly 12 people, 100% score, all got it down. And then it was science. And then it was no speculation anymore. It was not able to be subject to speculation of any kind. Not from the pharmaceutical, from nobody. But what is going on right now in the world, I don't know, but it's money driven. It's not soul driven, it's money driven. I'm of that. I just bring love to the people by showing the immune system, the hormonal system related to mood, and the energy, the power, which is cell metabolic processes. We are able to boost it within 1 day and get back in our physiological abilities, the way nature meant it to be happy, strong, and healthy, all in voluntary, willful control.
And can anyone do the method? Okay.
And it's very accessible, powerful. It's like I give people tools. They got to turn the buttons. They got to use the tools. If you use the tools well, it doesn't miss. It is not missing. This is not about some techniques or something. You can get something more. No, this is about the absolute ability to reach the physiological depth we really are all about. And then depression has no space. And then inflammation suddenly becomes completely different. And then the lack of energy suddenly is gone. And people get peace inside. A peace they don't understand, yet it is there. To be or not to be.
You know, when you were doing the method, obviously it was to try and feel better for yourself inside. And then once they did all the scientific studies, then you thought, you know, this can help everybody. This can kind of, you know, it's to spread that happiness, right? And to make sure that, you know, everyone's sort of looking at it, I guess now, where they're looking at the physical side of how they get more, you know, how they improve themselves physically, or wherever it could be, climbing the ladder, and, you know, thinking about things wrong. And it's sort of taking it back to basics and thinking, okay, well, how am I going to be happy inside? How am I going to be mentally healthy, right?
Yes. When I was 12, I took an oath in myself. I told myself, and also my friends, I remember, I told him, people think that to be so cruel against animals, to pollute the world, to have disease, to have war, to have abuse. Children are being killed right now. So people think that that is normal. I think it is sick. And I'm going to do something about it. I don't know what, but I'm going to do something about it. That's when I was 12 years. I really took the oath, and it takes long time to incubate into my psyche to find effective ways how to bring on effectivity to help to change that, change that sick world. They're governed by people who are abusing and they don't know, or they do know, or they do it on purpose, or they don't know their purpose, and all that chatterbox, get out. The most valuable things in life is not guaranteed. It's like the sunshine. The sunshine is for nothing there. Without the sunshine, we are nothing. And without the water, it's just there. We are just using it. So what is there within us, which is the most valuable, but we cannot get it? That is happiness, strength, and health. And now I found the ways to get into that and to guarantee the person, you are able now to guarantee happiness, health, and strength, which is the soul, which is the deepest of us, which withholds the purpose automatically, naturally. It's all there. The sanity is all there. That is what I'm all about now. I'm doing a project right now with the Maasai, 3,500 Maasai in Kenya, in the circle of life. You know, John Lennon, circle of life, blah, blah, blah. And then the Lion King and all, they are fucking up all the animals over there. So what I'm doing is, in collaboration with the Maasai, I'm bringing water everywhere through wells. And when the wells are there, they take away the fences, the poaching and everything, because with the water comes fertility, and the zebras, the giraffe, the elephant, the gnus, the wildebeest, the lions, they poo, and poo is fertilizer. Together with water, will fertilize for their cattle and for the wildlife. And then we bring tourists over there, and they will not go in Land Rovers or anything. They will go walking, and they better act naturally. Otherwise, they will look like a beefsteak in front of a lion, because they go into the land of the lion without fear. That is the Garden of Eden. That is the paradise where we have no fear, where we act naturally. That means in harmony with nature, in love, strong and confident in ourselves. And that's what I'm bringing here. And now I do it together with you. For that, I thank you.
And was there, I mean, like there's been some, like I guess previously some speculation and like some controversy around the method, right? I mean, and then now, I mean, are you, like the results are coming out and there's more scientific tests being done? Is that what you're driving towards, to show that, you know, with science that this is all possible?
Yes, to get into global healthcare and global mental health care, I have to come up and beat the pharmaceuticals. You know how powerful they are? They are really everywhere. They want to maintain a system of dependency. They don't want a natural methods coming in. So I'm into proving that natural methods are able to gain a much greater control within any human being on this planet than thought possible up till now. So I'm doing a Hollywood film. It's about my life, but it's directly, I use it as a marketing tool. I reach out now to tens of millions, but I want to reach out and reach billions of people. And I will attain my goal. I'm a 12-year-old man, a 12-year-old who pledged his oath, and I didn't off-track therefrom. And now I'm 62, but I'm still the kid. I'm still the oak. And that has grown like a big tree. It was planted 54 years ago, or what is it? No, 50 years ago, but it has grown now. It's not anymore that little, oh, nice little leaf. So, oh, what you got? Yeah, nice philosophy and all that. No, it's a fucking big tree. It's an oak, a big oak. You know, with the Catholics, they took down all the oaks in Europe who were older than 500 years because they were the center of the heathens for natural beauty and divinity together with rocks. I bring back the nativeness of ours, which we are not Catholics and Islamic and all. No, we are born to be in harmony with nature directly around us. And it shows. We got now, if we eat an apple, then the apple has been produced in South Africa and then, or in Chile, then being packed in China to get on in England as a fresh apple. Man, that's crazy. That's ecological footprints everywhere. We lost it. We only want to make money. And the end is now getting there. The environment is not taking it anymore. We can't pollute anymore. So what I'm saying, this is all evolution and all, but I tell you, the neurology of ours is about 10 times bigger than the neurology of people in the Middle Ages, like in medieval times, like 500 years ago, when people were only able to understand two-dimensionally, then suddenly three-dimensionally. What is that? That's neurology. It's like a little kid. There's nothing wrong with the legs, but it's still, the baby's still not able to walk because the neurology is not set. Now our neurology is able to make things like this apparatus, this iPhone, which has more bytes, this one, than 50 years ago, the Apollo rocket, the whole launch, the whole Canaveral, the Houston, the whole command center, all these typewriters and all, this telephone has more. And this is the fruit of our neurology, of our minds. Only our mind has been passive. What I say and what I do, now with that new neurology, we have sleeping dormant capacities. I'm awakening through science. I'm showing that we are able to control our emotions, that we are able to control energy, and that we are able to control that what jeopardizes our health, that is inflammation. And I showed it already, but the existent establishment of money will not just subside, but here I am. This is my mission. And I will reach millions, billions. Millions I already do, tens of millions. But I want billions of people. I want to change the world. That is the pledge of a 12-year-old. Imagine what you could do.
Wim, with everything going on at the moment, and like people are going through some tough times, what advice would you give to people?
For people, just a cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. That's one. Then do the breathing, the deep breathing. Connect to the deepest of yourself. It has been shown in science. It's there. So you can find confidence in this. If you have any problem, who are you going to call? Wim Hof, not the Ghostbusters. Let's chase all these ghosts that we cannot do it away. We are here to be happy, strong, and healthy. And we got all the tools to do so. Wake up. Enjoy it. Enjoying time every day.
Nice. And with athletes, I mean, with Fuel TV and what we're doing with the show here is sort of, for people that are interested in action sports or just, getting outside and being fit and healthy. What kind of results or things have happened to athletes once they've before and afterwards?
Yes, athletes they think they are at the top of their abilities in performance. But when they come, they find a whole new story. You know, a story on top of their ceiling of performance. And they find much more tranquility. They find they can tune much better with their bodies, and their bodies are their extension tools. They find that their performance goes way up, and it's easier because I teach people to become, say, like an alchemist, like in charge of their biochemics. And it shows, you know, if you do these breathing exercises, it's very simple. Within 4 minutes, then you can alkalize your blood within, say, two minutes, and then you do push-ups without air in your lungs, and you still do them more than when you do normal push-ups breathing. That's biochemistry. Changing the biochemistry will enhance absolutely the performance. So I always tell to these big shots, the biggest fighters come here, world champions, box come here, judo champions, they come here. I tell them, I don't care how good you are. I will make you better. So listen up. And then they listen up and they become children because they see they can learn. They can learn something they could not get within their own ways of understanding and disciplines. And that's what I do. I don't promise it, I deliver.
And for you personally, have you got any records or anything else that you want to accomplish in that sort of in the athlete realm, whether it's, you know, runs or swimmings?
I can be challenged. I can do anything, but the records I've done all has served now for the purpose. My mission is to make people happy, strong, and healthy, and to show that they have much greater possible control within than ever thought before possible within medical science and physiology. That's my aim. The records were not my aim, but I did them to attract all the attention, and it worked. So I got the attention of the scientific world and the doctors saying, hey, what this man is doing is not possible. Let's experiment on him. That's what they did. And then I changed the fundamental understanding of what we are capable of within our bodies through the mind and body. Some training, specific trainings, make ourselves much more invulnerable related to, say, inflammation and mental disorders, which is really a plague right now in the world. I got the solution. It's not me. I found it in nature. I'm just passing it on.
And with the pillars, so there's three fundamental pillars within the method, right? Which is breathing, cold, and commitment. Is there one that stands out as sort of, I guess, being more important than the other two, or are they all kind of as important as each other?
The apple is great, but without a tree, it could not have lived. It could not have grown. One is the other, and the other is one. I became aware of deeper breathing through going into the cold. First thing you do when you go into the cold, you automatically, naturally, you breathe deeper. You reunite yourself with the deepest part of your physiology through the life force coming in, oxygen, which is chemistry, makes you strong. So from there, driven, I came up with these breathing techniques. And then I separated them. They work, but one is actually rooted in the other. And commitment comes when you do these disciplines and you feel yourself so much better. You get a much greater mental control over your body and your mind. You get also confidence, a different confidence. Suddenly you are connected too much more power inside. You are able to decide so much more. And that is, and then commitment comes, and that's only the beginning, actually. The three pillars work, and then at a certain moment, people become not only committed, they will never not do it anymore, because they know this is the way to alter their consciousness and their physical abilities. And who doesn't want that, you know? So then they get this concentration, they get focused, and then they come up with challenges, and they are suddenly able to do all that. And that makes their life, their scope, their consciousness, perception begins to widen, begins to expand. And that is the real thing, the expansion of consciousness. That is spirituality. And then, you know, you get high on your own supply. There's so much more magic than the three pillars, but it's coming when you leave the pillars. They become one in your fulfillment of who you are and what you are from the depth. And that goes past words. It's love. It's like when you are in love, you don't think. But this is still an agent outside. It's a beautiful girl or beautiful boy, and then you feel, bah, you are struck, man. That power is also unconditionally there within the human, but it needs retrieval. It needs connection. So for that, we have the three pillars. And at a certain moment, that power begins to evolve and to grow as it should, naturally. We are not schooled that way. We are schooled to fit in a system which is sodomizing the planet. I say, let's be schooled to love. And then the system and all the things, they will subside. And then you become unconditionally there. To be and not to be is a question of, when you are there, a happy man doesn't go to war. A happy man is not into possession. A happy man is not into abuse. He is just happy. But we have lost the ability to become happy within ourselves. And for that, we have the three pillars until the divine power, which is in everybody. It's the most normal thing, is divinity and spirituality, and feel great, feel happy, strong, and healthy. That is the most grounded thing possible in the world. What we are now is confused. It's like, I got to do this and this and this, and stressing ourselves up. And it needs to stop. And now on top comes the coronavirus. And the coronavirus is viruses, bacteria, etc. We can beat it with this. Of course, they don't want to listen, but I showed it already. I've been doing the study. In 2014, we showed how to beat a bacteria injected, a whole group of people, 100% score, which was never been shown. But then if you go down into the biochemistry of it, you get these inflammatory markers. And the inflammatory markers responsible for the damage in coronavirus, COVID, is the interleukin number 1, number 6, number 8, and number 17. And we took them down within a quarter of an hour in 2014 already. Natural ways are really able to bring it down. Only it's not of interest to those who are in power. And whatever that is, I'm preaching love and positivity. And it doesn't matter if the person is left wing or right wing. I wish them all to have love within their family, composed by having a guarantee of happiness, strength, and health to their children. The rest is bullshit. I want to change this world. And billions is one thing, but maybe I don't need it. I just change the books to studies. And then I change the minds. And then people will see for themselves. That's a better way. I keep on going. I'm on the way, man. The love is coming. The future is coming. And we will decide which direction it will go. And through the work of people like yourself and me coming together, we just have a common sense conversation about what is happening, what is going to happen, what is really based with a non-speculatively based within us, because too much confusion is going on, and we're going to take it away. And that is done through things like this. And then they can look it up on the WimHofMethod.com. And they can look it up on Instagram. Every day there is a new Instagram feed. I do, funny things, serious things, crazy shit, cool shit, whatever. Live.
That's amazing. Wim, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks so much for your time. And yeah, we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on what you're up to. And
great conversation. Thank you for having me.